The phenomenon, often dubbed a sugar high, that burst of hyperactivity and erratic behavior seen in children after consuming sweets, has long been debated. Some dismiss it as a myth rooted in parental perception, while others point to clear behavioral shifts in real-world settings like classrooms and birthday parties. But beneath the surface of anecdotes and controversy lies a compelling question. Could brain glycogen dynamics offer a biological explanation for these dramatic energy and attention swings in children? To understand this, we must first consider how sugar interacts with the young brain. Children's brains are metabolically demanding, using more glucose per unit of mass than adult brains. Their need for constant fuel to support development, learning, and emotional regulation makes them highly sensitive to fluctuations in blood sugar. When a child consumes a high-sugar food, particularly in isolation, without protein, fat, or fiber, the glucose enters the bloodstream rapidly, triggering a strong insulin response. This abrupt surge and fall in systemic glucose affects not only peripheral tissues, but also the finely tuned energy balance within the brain. Astrocytes, the support cells in the brain, play a central role in regulating glucose use by neurons. They also store glycogen, the brain's limited backup fuel, which is broken down and shuttled to neurons during times of increased demand, such as during concentration, learning, emotional stress, or sudden changes in arousal. In theory, a sugar surge could initially flood the brain with glucose, briefly enhancing neuronal firing, dopamine release, and emotional reactivity. The result: a state of overstimulation that resembles hyperactivity or impulsive behavior, especially in children whose regulatory systems are still developing. However, this high is rarely sustainable. In response to elevated blood sugar, insulin not only drives glucose out of the bloodstream but may also cause a reactive drop, hypoglycemia, which can occur especially quickly in children with smaller glycogen stores or immature insulin regulation. When blood sugar drops sharply, the brain is forced to draw on its glycogen reserves. But here's the catch. Those reserves are small, tightly regulated, and in children may be more vulnerable to disruption by diet and stress. If the glycogen breakdown cannot keep up with sudden energy demands, such as trying to pay attention in class or handle emotional conflict, the result may be a cognitive crash. This crash often manifests as fatigue, irritability, distractibility, or even emotional meltdowns. In a classroom, it can look like daydreaming, behavioral outbursts, or loss of focus. At home, it may appear as mood swings or sudden defiance. The transition from overstimulation to depletion happens quickly, reflecting the delicate balance between glucose influx, glycogen buffering, and the brain's ability to maintain stable neurotransmitter signaling, particularly dopamine, norepinephrine, and GABA, which are key to self-control, attention, and emotional regulation. Supporting this theory, some studies have shown that children with attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, have altered glucose metabolism in key brain regions like the prefrontal cortex. While not proof of causality, it hints at a deeper connection between metabolic instability and behavioral symptoms. If glycogen mobilization in these areas is impaired due to poor diet, sleep disruption, or chronic stress, children may become more vulnerable to energy crashes following sugar intake, amplifying mood and attention problems. Additionally, there's evidence that repetitive cycles of sugar highs and crashes may condition a child's brain to seek fast energy and immediate stimulation, potentially reinforcing patterns of impulsive eating, screen overuse, and emotional reactivity. This is especially troubling given the typical modern diet: high in refined sugars and ultra-processed carbohydrates, low in stabilizing nutrients like fiber, magnesium, or omega-3s, all of which support healthy glycogen function and neurotransmitter balance. Importantly, not all children respond the same way. Genetics, baseline insulin sensitivity, brain development, sleep quality, and physical activity levels all influence how effectively a child's brain handles glucose and mobilizes glycogen. For some, the sugar high may be mild or non-existent. For others, especially those with predisposing vulnerabilities, the effects can be dramatic and disruptive. What does this mean for parents, educators, and health professionals? First, it suggests that behavioral responses to sugar aren't just psychological or myth-based. They may reflect real, rapid changes in brain energy metabolism. Second, it underscores the value of dietary patterns that stabilize glucose and support brain glycogen cycling. Whole foods with balanced macronutrients, low glycemic carbohydrates, and adequate hydration can help buffer against extreme highs and lows. Physical activity also plays a key role as it enhances both insulin sensitivity and brain glucose uptake, improving glycogen turnover and emotional self-regulation. In conclusion, while the term sugar high is often used loosely, the underlying biology may be very real, and glycogen could be the hidden player. When glucose floods the system, followed by a sharp fall, the brain scrambles to compensate. In developing brains with fragile metabolic infrastructure, this compensation may falter, triggering the very crashes that affect learning, mood, and behavior. Understanding and respecting this fragile system could help shift the focus from managing symptoms to preventing them through food, routine, and a better grasp of how the brain fuels itself, one sugar molecule at a time.